Welcome to this special episode of Dancing with the Bards. It's December, and we are officially setting a precedent I'm sure we'll never regret by covering 2 board games for this episode. I'm Ian, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Will.
Hello.
And Brooke.
I already regret this.
And our guest this month is the returning minstrel, Max.
Hello, I have nothing to regret.
If you've ever entered a game store before, you've probably seen 7 different versions of our first game on the shelves. Munchkin is a popular card-based dungeon crawler where you take on monsters and sometimes each other on a quest to reach level 10. This game was first published in 2001 by Steve Jackson Gaming. This game's wacky approach to dungeon crawlers makes it particularly popular. So popular, in fact, that it feels like there are more variations and expansions of this game than there are stars in the sky. Let's dive in and see what all the hype is about, starting off with number of players.
All right, so number of players, I believe, is 4 to 6, if my cheat sheet here is correct. 3 to 6.
3 to 6.
And I think that all of our returning viewers will know that that is pretty much our happy medium.
It is for me.
Yeah. For me as well.
Yeah, 3 for me on that.
Oh,
Same
yeah.
here.
Yeah. It's a nice round number.
Which is a great start to...
What surely will be a beloved game by us.
Oh, yeah.
Number of players out of the way.
Yeah, speaking of which, remember how last year I got upset at Skyfall? Spyfall. Don't care. I am also upset. Very upset.
I know you're upset, but you don't have to yell into the mic.
Going into inclusivity. We covered on the stream very briefly towards the end. There's a lot of what's the right word for this?
Boy, wacky wouldn't be one of them.
No, it wouldn't.
Tone deaf.
Tone deaf.
Yeah.
Is definitely misogynistic.
Punching down.
Yeah, punching down, as particularly at women.
Yeah.
There's definitely some jokes about people being disabled and stuff, but the portrayal of women in this game is kind of bad.
And just like a lot of toxic masculinity just in it with certain cards. It's
problematic comes to mind.
I'd say the toxic masculinity is almost more of a problem. It's kind of the root of that problem.
Yeah, honestly, it in some particular cards that
more than one.
One that we highlighted on stream, and it was definitely rooted in that toxicity.
I gave it a 0 for inclusivity. Overall, it's probably one of the few zeros I've ever given to anything.
I also gave it a 0. I was not into this stuff as a child and as a teen because of this. I was afraid to enter this community because of things like this, and I was not willing to put myself out there into a space where I was going to get hurt. No. This is the problem.
I feel like because of the cartoonness and it tries to get away with this sort of a crude humor, and it equates to whenever someone makes these type of jokes, they claim to say, "Oh, I'm doing this ironically," but you're still doing it, and it just perpetuates these these poor messages that not everyone is going to take that way. One, not everyone's going to take it as a joke, and some people might take it seriously and think that it's okay.
Yeah. And I just to kind of tie into what you're saying, I think that's with sort of all of this edgy sort of humor.
It's definitely falls under that umbrella of the problem that there is with toxic masculinity and misogyny. But yeah, it's one perpetrator of many.
And my biggest problem is some of these cards are genuinely funny and they don't do it. So it's possible. They just don't care enough.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if this has changed in any of the expansions because we just have the deluxe edition just plain. I don't know if they've changed that habit in the future because this was published in what? It was 2000.
The deluxe edition, I'm not entirely
Well,
sure.
just I mean in general, because this just has the board.
The first edition of Munchkin was published in 2001.
Okay, because like assuming this is 2001, because the only difference between deluxe edition, supposedly deluxe edition, and the regular is that it has a board involved. So assuming this is exactly from 2001, I'm hoping and praying that the expansions that have been farther along would have changed that, and I can't speak on that. I'm just speaking on this game.
Yeah, I played this game about, I think the last time I played this was about 5 or 6 years ago. And I'll say it's not something I noticed then. I've kind of grown as a person a little bit over the last 5, 6 years. But now that I'm playing it again and looking at it through a new lens, kind of, I'm like, oh, wow, that's gross. How did I miss that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the game itself has particularly gotten worse over the years. I think we as people have gotten better.
Which is a good thing.
And I mean, I'll be honest. Like I remember playing this game a lot in Boy Scouts, and this was like definitely a fan favorite of us. And looking back on it, I do definitely see that a lot of the things in it are pretty problematic. It was pretty illuminating to 10 years later to see what this game is like. Not a 16-year-old, but a 26-year-old. It is a very different game with a lot significantly different implications behind a lot of the cards.
Yeah. I think that's like covering. I feel like we covered that topic pretty well. Let's move on to comprehension, which was also a nightmare.
Yeah.
Rules wise, this thing flows pretty smoothly once you get the hang of it. I will say that it's very intuitive with the card and the text and everything. Let me know if I retake that. Gameplay wise, I will say that it's very intuitive as to how it plays. If you read the text in the cards, you can get a general idea of what's going on. You wouldn't know that by looking at the rulebook. It's 6 folded pages of gibberish, and I rushed through because I've played this game many times. I've never had to explain the game to anyone before, so I had to go through the rules, make sure I knew what I was talking about before I did this on a live stream, and realize I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it is definitely a scary sight when I am the most educated about the game, and even then, I will say this is one of those games where once you learn the rules, I feel like you're kind of good for life. It's like riding a bike. It's a very easy system, and once it gets going again, it's real easy to actually play. Setting it up and remembering how to set it up and the actual process by which to get it going, really not fun.
Oh.
I think, when you say setup, right? We often look at setting up the board, getting all the pieces together, but it's are you separating that?
I'm separating that from setup. I'm just talking about if you read through these rules, how easy is it to follow what's going to be going on?
Oh, you went over it a few times and I was still lost.
You watched
me
struggle so hard.
It really is a game where you learn as you go.
It reminds me a lot of Magic the Gathering in that case. I used to tell people when I was teaching the Magic the Gathering, do not look at the little paper that comes with the thing. You have this amount of lives, you have this, you attack things, and the cards are going to make you break those rules.
Yeah, and exactly. I feel like this is just like what you were saying. It's one of those games where you have a pretty rigid system, and then all of the cards that you get tell you what to do in the system.
Yeah.
And you learn by doing.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, that should be the first line of this is this is all to elaborate. You should play around together and see how it flows. But no one's going to do that.
Yeah.
It's the rule book.
I don't think any of, I mean, Ian, you're the only other person that was introduced to this game beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in a completely new group, or did you just have somebody who already knew how to play?
I played with people who already knew how to play. I first played this at the gaming club for our local college, and I played with people who were very experienced with it.
I feel like that is really the only way to play this game is to have someone experienced. It is my current running theory that there is only one man who knows how to play the game. He's just been teaching everyone.
It's the lore passed down. It's like
the ancient knowledge.
Which is why, and if you ever played this game before, which I know a lot of people have, it's one of those games where if you walk into a gaming store and you say, "Hey, who here has played Munchkin?" at least half the hands go up.
Oh yeah.
That said, everyone plays this wrong in some way most of the time. Whether it's they forget a rule or they don't follow a rule, there's something that they're doing that isn't going to be the same the next time you play it with someone else.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, and
we missed a rule. I'm pretty sure we missed a rule or two when we were playing.
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
We totally did. And
yeah.
I mean, when I got the first door, I dropped the I dropped the thing because I didn't know I could do it. Or in the very beginning when we were trying to figure out the
who gets the cards from the extra players.
Oh, not only that, I was gonna say how we did the trading in our group where you know it was the loot and everything was decided after you did the monster, but instead of beforehand, which I didn't know was a house rule, and I'm still a little butthurt by finding out about that 10 years later. I got screwed so many times.
Yeah.
It's what I say. I feel like I say this every time we're on the podcast. You take the rules you like and you leave the rules that don't serve you. And like this game is very good at letting you do that, and it still be a functioning game.
But that definitely hurts comprehension.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Moving on to availability.
It's like herpes.
It's at Target. You can get it at Target. That is like my bare minimum. You can get it in the Target section. Like I think you can get it anywhere.
We'll go into this more when we go into extras, but my God,
Oh yeah.
not only can you find this game just about anywhere, you can probably find like 3 or 4 different versions of it anywhere you can buy it. It is insane how many editions of Munchkin there are.
It's all part of the illusion of choice.
I mean, 9 expansions for just the main game. For Munchkin Zombies, there are 4 different editions. Or releases and expansions and whatnot. 4. Not including Zombies Deluxe.
Yeah, I come to think of it, in the times I played Munchkins, I don't think I played on the same version at any given time. It's the same game, it's just different cards.
Mm-hmm.
But it, like, when you print it out, like, having a physical list of all of the editions, it really puts things into perspective. There are a lot.
I think only one other board game I can think of is any more egregious with the amount of expansions.
And that's Monopoly.
No, I wasn't even thinking that.
Oh.
I was thinking Cards Against Humanity.
But, so I feel like Cards Against Humanity
Monopoly, right.
gets a little bit of a pass. They need to continually release those updates to remain fresh and relevant. And I'm gonna bring that up again when we talk about apples to apples.
we're gonna save that because let's see if we can remember this for the next one.
The only other game to give out their IP so freely is Monopoly.
Oh yeah, and Sorry, I think Sorry has a bunch. I had a Hello Kitty Sorry growing up.
But yeah, for availability, I gave it a 3. You'll never have a problem finding this game.
No,
Same.
Materials, I also gave it a 3. It's pretty straightforward. I will say there's not as much organizing in the box as there could be, but
yeah, I mean they don't try and make it work. They just give you the stuff and throw it in there.
Yeah.
And then the board's good for the deluxe edition. It fits in the packaging nicely. It even has extra room that they've cordoned off that you could use to make a more useful sectioning skill. But the one thing I did want to bring up, because last time we talked, we brought up about light fastness. This box did really well on that. I mean, there's a little bit of fading on the box, but overall it's good. Everything in this was good quality for sure.
And you've had this for a while, right?
Yeah, no, I've had this probably the same as the last box that we had. So what was that? Dragon's Inn?
Red Dragon's Inn.
Red Dragon Inn. So I bought those around the same time. And
so I can see on the box here it says 2015.
yeah, and you can see, like, if you turn the box towards you very carefully, because it's super loud on this table right now, you can see it kind of did yellow a little bit, but it wasn't as detrimental to the imagery as the other box was.
And I will point out, even though the pigment is faded, the detail in the image is still fairly.
Yeah, they used the right tones to make it work. Like, I will not ever once say that whoever illustrated this wasn't good at what they did. I just don't like what they did.
Fair. But I was more talking about, like, there's no bleed over. There's no. This is a nice shelf stable product.
Speaking of illustrations, misogynistic images aside for a moment, because we've gone into detail about that.
Yeah.
I actually like the art style.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like the art style.
It's very unique to the game.
Mm-hmm.
You can recognize it in a store just by glancing at it if you've ever seen it before. You're like, oh, that's Munchkin.
It has a very, like, newspaper comic vibe, and I do like that.
Very Beetle Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure almost no one who's listening to this
I know, but
knows
we know.
Beetle Bailey, but we know.
I don't know. I'm gonna pretend.
Hagar the Horrible.
I'm gonna.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
I'm nodding my
I
head
thought
right
it was-
now.
I thought it was
Just
Haggard
think of
the
any of
Is
the
it Haggard
Haggard
the
Horrible.
Horrible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have a stuffed animal at home that I have to show you later. But it's a little Viking man that was in the newspapers, like in the comic section.
And he always had, like, the big feasts and stuff.
Yeah, my grandma used to
Pointy
get
helmets
the
and-
newspapers every Sunday, and I would go to her house, and the first thing we and my brothers would fight over was the comic section.
Yeah. Okay, this is not a
Sorry.
this is not a shared
And
experience.
it reminds me of that. I like
know
the
what?
art style. I like the humor in it for the most part.
3 out of
There's a
4
lot
ain't bad.
ducks.
Yeah. There are a lot of ducks.
A lot of ducks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steve Jackson likes ducks.
apparently
All right, on to setup then.
it was dirt easy.
I'm actually gonna. I docked a lot of points. I
Really?
think, like I was saying earlier, it's getting the game going and making sure everyone's comfortable with just sort of starting and getting going. It took a little bit for us. I mean, once we were in it and we did a couple of turns, the game picked up and it got a lot better. But as for, like, the first 2 turns, I didn't like it. I think it took forever. That's really sort of.
I viewed it more as like a physical standpoint of like getting all the pieces in line. It's pretty straightforward for me. So that's why I got higher score in that category. And that's where, it's simplicity. I mean, before it was even deluxe. It was just what two decks of cards, the treasure and the door, and
Yeah. So with the deluxe edition, it really just adds a board.
board and pieces, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What was
just board and
that?
pieces.
Oh, the chair.
I put my hand on the chair.
I thought one of the keys came to life from the board game.
Yeah.
came to hunt us down.
Anyone else have any notes on setup? It's pretty straightforward for this game.
The board actually organized it pretty well, so that I think the deluxe edition does give a little more to the fact that it gives you specific places to put things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find it was the best setup. I think I would have given less points if we didn't have the board.
Rate of play. How engaged were you guys?
We kind
playing
of
this game?
touched on it a little bit. Like the first few turns were like, as Will said, like freaking agonizing because we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But once we got like through, I guess the mid game, like we had like card spells and cards that we were looking to play, and the gameplay of it, like we said, is the most enjoyable part of it. For me at least. The fact that we can sabotage each other or help each other, the bargaining aspect of it is very there's a lot that you can do depending on who you're playing with. Some of us might be more reserved than others, and some of us want to engage or like ask for help. I for one wanted to be very devious and screw someone all of them.
us.
Let me rephrase that.
Hey, what race were you, by the way?
None, because I never got an opportunity to be a race. Thanks. That was
Just
part
an
of my
amorphous,
comeuppance.
ever evolving.
Hi, I'm a dwarf. No, you're not.
And fair. I mean, that was not the worst retaliation that I received. So
Yeah, I would say Brooke was after you.
I was already pissy.
I just needed to regain my spot.
Vengeance was hers.
This touches back to we were talking earlier in apples to apple into the other thing. Sorry, spoiling, I guess, kind of.
Apples to apples.
Foreshadowing.
I guess they know it's in the title.
Yeah.
But we had talked about when I get cranky, I get very, pissy, and in this case, I got very pissy at both the game and people.
She did warn us.
I did give you an out.
For the viewers at home, she did warn us. She yeah. You ripped the soul from my body.
I take great pleasure in the suffering of others. I found it hilarious.
I'm glad
I will
some good
always
came
give
of it.
those in a
Most of the-
spot
It
that
was
is.
not focused at me.
Yeah.
I always give those that are in a spot where they could you could have been okay if you just went with it. I gave you a chance. I gave you an out. I always give an out.
You did. I didn't listen. The hubris was my folly.
All right, so rate of play I think is pretty good
Yeah.
overall. I personally was pretty invested the whole time. There's a lot of social aspects to this, so you're pretty much always engaged. Even on someone else's turn, there's usually something you can do if you want.
Yeah.
So going into price, the price for this does range a lot depending on what edition you're getting. For the deluxe game that we have, it was like $36 on Amazon. If you want to get the main game, it's like $25. Honestly, pretty good for a board game. I give it a 3. That's really standard for any board game.
Same.
I
I
gave it
thought it was
a
good
2, but I do agree with what you're saying. It's relatively high quality. I wouldn't personally pay $36 for this game. I would pay probably like $20-$25.
And that's why there's eBay.
Yep, and knowing that
Exactly.
it's in box stores, you can always find it on sale at a box store. You just have to wait.
Yeah, I think I would buy this on sale.
Yeah.
that was
I'm
my
sure
reasoning
it-
for it, for giving it a 2. Like, I would buy it if it was on sale.
Yeah, I'm sure it goes on sale all the time.
Oh yeah, especially with the editions.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yeah.
I don't know how much all the extra editions are. A lot of them use IP, and some of them, like the Marvel one and the Harry Potter one, I have a list. I have a list.
Well, since you do have a list,
We'll get into that in extras. Oh, that
we
is
are
next.
in extras.
We're in extras.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Someone who's not going to get winded reading off this thing.
Do you want me to
Share it with the group.
Do I read your comments too?
Yes.
I don't. Okay.
All snarky comments. Must be included.
So
Oh, I need the
full
other page.
disclosure. Before we do these episodes, I usually make a cheat sheet for everyone on things that wouldn't be common knowledge.
Thank you,
And
Ian.
I spent about half an hour writing down all of the editions I could find. And I may have made some very snarky comments on the side when I was reading through them.
Okay, so the first note is there are 9 different editions and expansions on the main series games. There's a Marvel, an X-Men, a Rick and Morty edition, Conan the Barbarian, not the late night host, Conan.
The
the
worst,
worst
late night
host.
No,
He
sorry.
made sure to
I
include
like-
his opinion
I don't
on
mind
the
him.
guy. I like him too.
Okay. Nightmare Before Christmas, Munchkin Impossible, the Spy Edition, Munchkin Shakespeare Edition, Munchkin Legends, Medieval Knights, Harry Potter Edition, Turfs Go Home. I think we can all, TMT Edition, Crazy Kooks, An Unexpected Turn for Top Chef, Steve Jackson's Munchkin Edition, published by Steve Jackson's Games, Warhammer 4000 Edition.
40K.
No, it's 4,000. I refuse. Go home. You are home.
I did write 40,000.
It's
4,000.
not only is it the wrong timeline. It's 2 more years and
It's
we'll
okay.
cover 40K.
It's okay.
Ugh. I dread that moment.
Stars Munchkin Deluxe, Zombies 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 introduction double-size dungeon cards. Brains are required to be more original. Munchkin's Apocalypse, original and special edition art, and we'll all go together when we go. Munchkin's Light, Munchkin's Deluxe, Pathfinder Deluxe, Legends Deluxe, Wonderland Edition, Magic Mess, Abracadabra for more money, Spell School, Munchkin Gold, Munchkin Cthulhu. Next page. Munchkin Foo, Munchkin Panic, Munchkin Adventure Time 1 and 2, Oz Edition, Super Munchkin, The Guild Edition, Munchkin Booty, Moops Monster Mashup, Love Shark Baby, and Princess. Both Love Shark Baby and Princess are 15-card expansions.
This game is for ages 10 and up.
No.
It is not. So here's the thing on that.
No.
According to various gaming websites, it says ages 10 and up. I could not find that on the instructions or the box.
Which I think is negligent. Especially, I want to, in the notes, is it okay if I go to Target tomorrow and then in the notes of our podcast we say if
No,
they
it
do
does
have
say on the box right
Oh,
here,
it
10
does?
and up.
Okay, I disagree.
It does.
If a grandmother bought this for a 10-year-old, we'd have some severe issues.
Right over their head.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
And grandma would be
I
mortified.
mentioned like earlier. Like it just puts the badness and the crudeness, the misogyny and all those bad themes is perpetuating it. Like it's like to influence the people who are very easily influenced and they don't know. They like you guys said like
This is the
It's-
Andrew Tate of board games. It
There you
isn't.
go.
It is a way into the world. It's just not a healthy way into it.
Because you mentioned playing this in Boy Scouts. If you're like a 10 to 16-year-old looking at this, you're like, ah, ha, 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 women, cuties. But then you hit 20 and you're like, oh, that's not okay.
Yeah, this is problematic.
You know,
thing is-
even 20s, you would find it funny still. Like, you would
Yeah,
find it
that's fair.
funny
I
in
was
the
a
other way.
terrible person.
Only because there's a lot of BDSM references in this. So in your 20s, you'd be like, ha, 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 that's right. Like, this is a thing. It's not until we get to, like, our age now, where we're 5 years, some
Into our
more,
20, yeah.
past it, that we're like, oh, that's not funny. That's, like, humor that's not okay.
the thing
Yeah.
is there's people much older than us that I can think of. You guys don't know, but don't see anything wrong with it.
Oh yeah,
And-
I'm sure we're here for them.
Yeah.
We'll hear from them. There's no doubt. If someone listens to this, we'll hear from them.
yeah. I know people in my life who would play this game and not see any problems in it, and it's not ideal.
As a heads up, if you have any comments related to us calling out misogyny on our podcast, you can send your complaints to @GoFuckYourself on Twitter.
Or the email, and I will read them on TikTok.
Do it. We want TikTok views.
I mean, we do need it. I have not been as up on it as I should be. We do have a TikTok, by the way. Just if there's many things I hear as a teacher that make me upset, and this is on the list now. If I hear a student saying they're playing Munchkin, I am going to be, where are your parents? Like, who is watching you? This is up there when I had a third grader tell me that they were playing Mortal Kombat and drawing me pictures of death scenes. Like, I would not be okay with the student telling me they played this on the regular.
So moving from extras to enjoyment, because that was all extras.
Yeah.
I feel guilty about the fact that I really enjoyed this game.
I also rated it fairly highly. I feel bad, but at the same time, if you're able to set aside a lot of the problematic content, I feel like at its core it is a fun game.
That's why I gave it 1.
Okay,
I gave it the same score I gave it for rate of play because I kind of think they go hand in hand. If you think it's flowing well, for me it's on par with my enjoyment level, but it's important that we did recognize its faults and all the things that are wrong with it. That's very crucial that we acknowledge that. But we also give credit to its sort of gameplay and what it can bring. I feel like its medium or its rate of play, its gameplay in general has a lot of potential. It has, and like we said, it could make those jokes without the misogyny, and it's possible. So that's why I put it in like as a 2, same as rate of play.
Yeah, every time I was having fun, I'd pull another card that just made me feel uncomfortable. So I couldn't enjoy it. It could be a fun game, but I couldn't enjoy it.
It really is just a matter of changing art and flavor text, and you're fine.
It comes down to the classic, just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Like,
or just don't punch lower than you. Like, if they'd punched up and made like bourgeoisie jokes or like president jokes, like those people are above us. They're not on our same level. But like when you're taking a group of people, like I'm not just speaking about women. I'm speaking about like the lame goblin.
yeah.
You're taking a group of people that are already felt other, and then making them feel even more othered in a community what needs to be a community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Not really, because I don't remember what I said.
When
I get heated, it just kind of goes out.
No, yeah, it's fair. I gave it a 3 for enjoyment. I was trying to like think up to myself because I do try to score based on the category, and because I mean I'm also in a position where I'm not the one being targeted, I guess, by that too. But even putting that aside, just looking at the system itself, I really enjoy it. I enjoy the social aspects of a game where you can either stab someone in the back or help them out and kind of plan your next move in advance. That's very fun for me. But I would not recommend this to anyone. I gave this a 1 in recommendation.
Same.
I gave it a half.
As well.
There's some people that I would recommend it to, but I wouldn't play with them anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna bring Boss Fight for us sometime.
Yeah, I think I'll enjoy that.
It sounds like something I enjoy playing.
So I feel like I already know the answer for most people when I ask you, would you play this again?
I gave it a 3 for replay value just because it's the same thing. It's a good game. I wouldn't recommend it. I didn't enjoy it, but that's where I put at its core, it has the potential to be something really great. And like I said, we're just talking on the deluxe edition. I'm hoping that the other editions have gotten better because I haven't seen those. This is my first foray into Munchkin.
As I think back on it, I think I've played zombies before. I think the same problems are still there. And granted, there are so many additions for this game. It's really hard to say. Unless you've played all, 30, 40 something editions of this thing?
Page and a half.
Page and a half
of 12-point font. And some of those include 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I just put all the editions of the same game together on that list.
I wouldn't buy it, but I'd be curious to rifle through the latest edition that they have dropped.
I will also say, some of those editions that are licensed IPs, like the Marvel, the Rick and Morty, they don't use Munchkin art. They have their own artists and stuff and publishers. So that actually might be different.
Yeah, so I'd be interested in looking at one of those, minus Rick and Morty, because it's probably going to be the same issue. But I wouldn't buy it. I'd love to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any more talk on replay value?
I think we've pretty much covered all of it.
Yeah, all right, so going on to our sliding scale, classic versus innovative. I gave this a 1 for innovation. I think it is innovative. I really think it's very complex, and I have a lot of other gripes with it personally.
I gave it a 2 for classic. I think it's at its core a relatively simple dungeon crawler where you collect loot and then you use the loot and make numbers get bigger, and then bigger number is better number.
I just remembered why I gave it a 1 innovative as well. It was innovative when it came out, but based on how often they've reprinted this thing, it's basically flooded its own market.
I feel like it in and of itself has created this own little bubble that is, it's just Munchkin rules. And that's kind of why I'm saying it's classic, is just because it is Munchkin. It is the game.
It was innovative.
It's Minecraft. It's just like the Minecraft thing, where Minecraft itself is very innovative, but every game that has tried to copy it since then just copies the things from it. Except it's Minecraft keeps releasing the same version of itself.
But now we have bees. Panda bears. They do nothing, but they're here.
They do something. They eat bamboo.
Only if you give it to them.
You think they're gonna work for the bamboo?
Max, any thoughts on that?
I didn't really have anything drastically different. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just making sure.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I got you, Max.
What'd you give it on the last scale, though, Max?
I mean, because it was initially a little complex, just to the initial understanding of it, I gave it a 1 on the complex, because after we got a sense of playing it for a few rounds, it ran smoothly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it a very similar number.
I gave it a 2 complex, and the reason for that is I feel like the reason the rules are so hard to interpret is because a lot of these are social elements to a game, and it's really hard to write out rules for social interaction in a game. Like half of these things are just like, okay, well, one, you're trading, you can only trade these, but when you're doing combat and you're deciding down treasures ahead of time, you have to decide on which parts you're getting first and who gets what before you go into combat, because so that really runs on, but it really is very simple. Negotiate treasure ahead of time.
That much really speaks to for, I think they did write the rules for 10-year-olds, because that's something you do have to explain to what would essentially be, I believe, a 4th grader.
Yeah.
So I gave it a complex 2 because I understand that those social elements kind of get in the way of describing these things. But once you're actually into it, it runs very smoothly, and I do enjoy a lot of the mechanics.
Same. It's I've been saying it over and over again. It's one of those things where it's like once you get it going, it's going, and it requires very little mental upkeep to keep track of what's going on.
All right, so we still have apples to apples to do. So let's go over final scores.
Okay.
My final score was 27 out of 42.
Mine is 30 out of 42.
Mine is 26 out of 42.
This did get a single point higher than I believe Skyfall was, or a single point lower, I'm sorry, than Skyfall was, at a 17 out of 42.
That's rough.
Look, again, I'm just too close to this. Like, I can't.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, but I can empathize.
As someone that wasn't into comic books because I was getting stared down in a comic book store because of who I was, no.
Moving on now to a game that is maybe one of the most popular party games of the 2000s. Apples to Apples is a card-based party game in which one player judges their fellow players based on what nouns they attribute to adjectives. The winner is the first person to set a number of points, counted by the number of green adjective cards you won. This party game was published by Out of the Box Publishing in 1999, though these days it's published by Mattel. This family-friendly party game is well known in a now extensive genre of card-judging party games, which is saying a lot when that category contains giants like Cards Against Humanity. With that background information in mind, let's start going over our rubrics, starting, as always, with number of players.
I gave this one a 3. I think, as we've said with our last game, this is right in that happy number of 3 to 6. And 3 to 6 is good.
I almost wanted to give it a 2, just because in the cheat sheet it says what goes from 4 to 10 players. I would never play this with more than 4 or 5 players.
I have. It's hectic, and it's a short game because you run out of cards.
It also, the more players you have, the less points you need to get to win.
Just for the hectic aspect, we as a group already get distracted enough on our tangents. I can't imagine 2 or 3.
It is a little much for me, but I normally will say for a number of players, 3 to 6 is my sweet spot. For a party game, that's a lot more lenient. You almost want to have more players because usually when you're playing this, you're trying to entertain a large group of people, and a normal board game just won't cut it.
I think,
and they definitely have enough cards so that you can.
I think 6 players max.
Okay.
For me. personally.
Are they all named Max or just you?
Me, I'm the head Max,
Okay.
the one and only.
Was it like a council thing, or like just like a
Well,
local union?
they're implied Maxes, but I'm the only one who gets to be called Max.
So it's like Maxwell.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all the names that I call you.
Maximilian.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I don't have Max isn't short for anything.
I will call him everything I can think. Maxford.
Yeah, that's the one
Max Free.
that I had never heard before.
It's not a real thing.
Yeah. Well,
For those of you wondering at home, Max's last name is Hazard. Maximum Hazard.
He looked really concerned that you were about to actually give his full name for a second there.
But yeah, I gave it a 3.
Okay. All right. On to inclusivity.
Inclusivity.
I think it was not. I mean, and it's better than the last one. But,
Yeah.
It's definitely no shining beacon of inclusivity.
I gave it a 2.5. Like, the thing I judge is if we took cards out of the last game, it would have been hard to play.
Yeah.
But like if you just took out Waco, Texas, I think we'd be fine.
Waco. I'm also gonna throw out there that there was Berlin 1945. And then the flavor text is where Hitler made his last stand. This is a kid's game.
But like if you took those cards out, there were not enough of them to matter.
Agreed. I completely agree. And even then, with kind of wacky stuff like that, I can understand why those things were included. Waco, Texas, was horrible. Like let's not forget that. But at the same time, too, it is an important part of American history and is something that is relevant. It's the same thing with the Berlin thing.
So on that note, real quick, I will say with the flavor text they had on these cards, for things that were less important, like cow pies was one where it just had some fun flavor text. If it was a historical person, place, or thing, it included things like the day they were born, the day they died, and a pretty Wikipedia general entry of what they were or what happened.
And that's why I'm gonna keep going back to the Hitler one. The Hitler one, while yes, is in fact correct that Berlin 1945.
What happened?
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
I feel like some of the educational bits are almost funnier than the cards themselves.
Yeah.
Well, when your options are like, okay, well, you have cow pies, you have caves, and then Berlin, Germany, 1945.
and just for reference, the word we were trying to match up for this particular round was ridiculous.
We also should mention, I think that one was the deck. So we were playing where we pulled one from the top deck just to shake it up.
Oh,
so
the
we
Berlin
had
was
four.
me.
That was you.
I was me.
Oh.
That was
Thinking
me.
about yourself.
Yeah, no. I realized what I did. The Waco, Texas was the deck.
Yes, I'm gonna bring up this point then. This is a game where your mentality dictates what happens. So,
Exactly.
there was a card that said horrifying. In a normal person's mind, they would put Berlin 1945. Horrifying events happened. But you got to judge that. Your friend group is the one, or your people you played with were the ones that set the tone for the humor.
Exactly. You know your friends, and you know where the line is, and if you know you can make a joke that is a little bit pushing it without offending anyone, I feel like this game lets you do it. It's a lot more politically correct and a little bit friendlier than Cards Against Humanity in that sense.
Oh, way friendly. Like, their Cards Against Humanity we'll cover one day, but
I can't wait.
it'll be fun.
I
do
should've
enjoy
gotten the
Cards Against
Clam Ace
Humanity.
pack.
But I wouldn't call them tasteful.
No, they don't claim to be either, though.
Exactly. That said, I gave it a 2 for inclusivity. Other than being a bit dated, it's not really that bad.
I think that was one of the big gripes too. Was most of the person placer thing were like from the last millennia, and most of them were dead.
We kept on going. Are they dead? Did they die?
Okay, I want you to know, I didn't get to play this card, but the last card I picked up was Adam Sandler. And do you know what the notable thing for Adam Sandler was?
That he's alive.
No, not even that he's alive. That he is an actor for SNL.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's a little dated.
I got Rush Limbaugh on one of them.
Oh my god.
I was waiting to play that.
But that's also the fun part, too. It's a bit of a time capsule.
It really is.
I have a note for this when we get down to the extras, though.
I am sure, 100%, that Donald Trump is in there somewhere.
I don't know, actually.
There's no way he's not.
He can't not be in there. He's got to be.
I'll have to look.
And then we got to see what it says about him.
Yeah, owns hotel franchise and some golf courses.
No, it probably says like it would probably say that his
you're
book title.
fired. Yeah.
No, he probably it might. I think that was before the You're Fired too. It was before reality TV was the thing. So I'm assuming that it would just talk about the author of this book, because he was a businessman and he wrote, what book was that?
Art of the Deal.
Art of the Deal. So they probably said American business tycoon
and
author of, yeah.
But playing that card now means something very different than it did in 1999.
I mean, we even talked about that with the NRA. We got the NRA card at one point, and I'd put it down as Puffy. But that definitely said, we even talked about it, it's a different tone. Like, it was still kind of along that where they were like, oh, yeah, these people want your vote. But
gunning
it wasn't...
for your vote.
Gunning for your vote, yes. But it wasn't as... It didn't have the same connotation as now. Yeah. I don't think.
I mean, how could it?
Yeah, the NRA back then were just like the guys who want guns, and they send you all the letters. They keep sending me letters. Please stop sending me letters, NRA. I know you listen to my podcast. I'm not giving you money.
Well, we've said the word gun 3 or more times, so they're definitely listening now.
Oh, yeah.
Going into comprehension, then, if no one else has any notes on inclusivity. 3. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah. The concept is so straightforward.
I have dyslexia, and I did not struggle reading at all. This is very much a game made for children.
This is for 12 and up. If you don't know your nouns versus your adjectives, we're good.
Yeah. I will say, when it's 12 and up, it really is 12 and up.
Yeah.
You could get a very simple word in your list, or you could get like some obscure novel.
I feel like that's why it's 12 and up and not like 10 and up like Munchkin is, which I feel like
that's wrong.
Something's up. But this one is a very reasonable, like, I could think even younger kids could play Apples to Apples and do play Apples to Apples, and they have a junior edition. So, like,
yeah, they do.
That's the edition I'm thinking of. Okay, so I know Apples to Apples through like elementary school, and I guess, yes, there was a junior edition. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
You had played the junior edition before?
No, I've never played it, but I've seen people play it.
Oh.
I have never played this game.
I was honestly surprised you hadn't played it.
I am too.
Considering like just how large your family is, and I feel like a lot of people have played this.
Oh no, I'm the only person in my family who likes games.
Really?
Yeah, everyone else hates it. We used to do a Monopoly night, and that ruined the family. And then it was just me and my brother, and then we got into Stratego, and I got really good at Stratego. I get very competitive. When I learn a game, I get very, very competitive at it.
I saw it on Munchkin.
Yeah.
Can we play Stratego sometime?
Yes.
I have one of the older editions, and I love it.
Me too.
Okay.
But we're off topic though.
Availability, since.
I'm gonna say that this is probably up there with Munchkin in availability.
This
very
is up
much
there with
same.
Monopoly.
Oh yeah, it's very much same as.
This is.
Well, Munchkin
is up there with Monopoly too. When you go to the game aisle, what do you see? You see Monopoly, Munchkin, and Apples to Apples.
The only thing I've seen crop up more is that Disney game that I refuse to touch.
What?
There's like a Disney board game out now that has like 3 or 4 different expansions that is wildly expensive. But that is also in every big box store. But you can get this, you can get Munchkin, you can Monopoly. It's pretty ubiquitous now, and you can get it at just about any thrift shop as well.
This is true.
But I will say, with the difference between this and Munchkin is you can probably find this in any parents or grandparents' house too.
Yes.
not only can you find it on store shelves, but someone you know probably has a copy.
Schools. I have it in my school. It's actually in the basement. We have a couple copies in the basement of our school right now. I got bored. I started looking through the catacombs. By catacombs, I mean legitimate fallout shelter. But, like, it was down there in the fallout shelter.
Well, the kids need something to do during the nuclear apocalypse.
What better way to learn your history?
Yeah. Oh my god. We're gonna have a whole like generation of kids educated on nothing but apples to apples cards.
That's our generation. I'm sorry.
It really is.
Which means they're missing about 20 years. Everything leading up to it. So with that unavailability, materials. How did you guys feel about?
I did dock a point. I thought the cards were a little thinner than I'd like, and I've noticed that they were a little warped. They stuck. Yeah. They were. I had a big issue where I kept getting double cards, and they would stick for whatever reason.
You had that? I did not have that issue.
I had it too.
I saw it happen to Brooke, but I never had that issue either.
Yeah, but it was strangely. Was it also the blank card for you?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, mine was the blank card. I was wondering if maybe it was the ink content of it.
I understand because why it was like to your point that they were on the thinner side because there were so many of them to fit inside that box. It's a large box, but the quantity of cards, it's
easily thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so with a game that is essentially just cards, you can spend some extra money on making sure that your cards are a little bit thicker, and that will just extend the lifespan of your Cards Against Humanity cards. Ideal thickness, perfect.
Yeah. Well, they're also slightly waterproofed as well.
Yeah, but that
adds rigidity.
Yeah, I would like to see apples to apples cards also be waterproofed.
But there are also less cards in a game of Cards Against Humanity, Jen.
I think
not necessarily. I mean,
have you seen the bigger box?
Well, yeah. There's the big black box, and then the bigger blacker box, which is even bigger, and then there's the Giga box now.
So
that's right.
I have no evidence to back this up, but I think that because it's a thinner cardstock and how much comes in that box there, that you actually have a lot more cards in that than you do in the bigger box.
Okay.
Because the cards are bigger and they are thicker stock.
I'm not going to get into it too deeply right now, but I do know off the top of my head the original big black box was 250 cards. It was the first 4 expansions plus the original 50. The bigger blacker box is something like 2,500. But all I'm saying is you could add a quarter millimeter. And
so I would like to read you the back of the box. First of all, over 5 million games sold. Just a heads up. But there's over 1,000 cards in here.
All right, point retracted.
Mm-hmm. It's 756 red cards and 252 green cards.
And although Brooke refused to let us take advantage of it, there are slots in that box where you can actually put all the stacks of cards so that they can fit neatly where everyone can reach them and not fall over at any given point in time.
I will say, though, I did stress test this because they have a mechanism in here that is supposed to hold the cards, and I did toss it around a bit, and they mixed up. So their organizational system is not like it's there. It's just not up to par. But I will say, Red Dragon, and I'm looking at you, whatever pigment Apples to Apples is using did not go away. Same time on my shelf. But probably actually this might be a little longer on my shelf than Red Dragon.
I don't think I've ever seen a faded box of Apples to Apples, and those things go through hell and back.
They go through schools. Like, that's the biggest challenge any game can face.
Okay, here you go, guys. Here is the pristine side. Here is the side that is faded. It has maybe gone down. It's maybe just like a tint lighter, but it is less fugitive than the other color.
Honestly, if you bring that back, we don't have anyone on camera, so no one can see this. At least to my eyes, it looks like you're losing more of the yellow, and the reds and greens are staying relatively the same.
Close.
Okay, I don't know.
You're right. It's actually the red is a very fugitive color. Just historically, it's hard to keep still. But that is for the podcast that I have not made yet about art, so I don't take over this podcast.
Tune in tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern.
But fugitive colors, they're fun. Look them up.
Pacific.
So
Don't
moving
you
into...
wait. If you go to a con, do not have them sign in Sharpie. Never sign in Sharpie. Okay, I'm done.
So moving into gameplay. Fun stuff, by the way, and you really should do that podcast.
Micron. Don't do a big pen. That's worse.
I said paint pen.
Paint pen. I mean, I guess.
Setup. Setup is so easy.
You stack lots of cards.
Everyone no, you don't stack all the cards. Don't listen to Brooke.
You throw all the cards in a pile and make
giant-
Ian pick them up.
You make a giant tower of cards, and it didn't fall down.
It didn't.
Once.
That's because we were very careful not to jostle the table.
Oh no, we were poking them. If you go on our TikTok, Max and I were like aggressively poking it.
Oh yeah, no.
The
I will
tower.
say I think the
Tower of cards.
the tower of cards held together better than either of our Munchkin cards.
Look, I'm a big guy. Every time I stand up, my belly hits the table.
You
I have to be
know,
very careful.
There's a very easy solution to that, Ian. You know
Suck
what
in
it
my
is?
gut.
No, don't move.
That's what I was doing.
And you did a very good job.
But setup is everyone gets 7 cards. You stay at 7 cards. As soon as you play, you draw. Everyone only plays 1 card per turn, and you put down 1 green card. It's so straightforward. I can't imagine not giving anything but a 3 for me personally.
Same here. I gave it a 3.
Other than maybe having to unsort those cards after their failed organizational system.
Okay, fair enough.
But no, I didn't take off points for that.
Rate of play?
I give it a 2 personally.
Likewise.
I gave it a 3. This is always a good pacing for me because it creates conversation. It's not, you don't feel stressed. You don't feel like things are like if it's lagging, you just pick a card to win and move on. You don't comment on it. Like you can really.
That's actually where I gave it a 2 because the moments that do lag on for me, I don't like those moments where like I'm just picking a card just to pick it. It's that for me personally feels bad.
There are turns when you're definitely not invested.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And as I think we said on the stream, it is conversation starter of the game, and those conversations can drag on. And let's say you're playing with someone who's a lot younger, and the topic of Princess Diana comes up. Anyone under the age of like, I think at least point like 15, 20, not even going to know what you're talking about.
I mean, I know
there's a
people my
revival.
age who there is a revival of Princess Diana.
Thanks to the
but, like,
crown.
yeah, I love the crown.
See, it's doing it again.
I do actually really like the crown.
But then I'll be sitting here and I'm like, I've never even watched The Crown. What are you
Right
guys
there with
talking
you,
about? And I'll just be like on my phone.
That's fair.
Now, I'm pretty like politically literate, generally speaking. So I'm familiar with a lot of the stuff in here. But I know almost nothing about artists. And while it's fun to listen to someone who does know a lot about it talk about them, I can imagine for someone else who's not interested in that kind of stuff, this is a drag sometimes.
I only saw 2 artists, or 3. I mean, technically, that's
I think
an
we spent
architect.
like 20 minutes on a conversation about Van Gogh and
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo.
It was not 20 minutes.
It was like 5, but it was a good 5 minutes.
It's the 5 minutes that seem like 20 minutes, but in a good way, depending on who you are.
But I think we're all over the place on rate of play for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a fairly fast game. I gave it a 3. I think the rounds kind of there were definitely points where it did drag and I wasn't invested in my round. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think this game is just quick and you get it over with. You play a card, you don't think about it too much, and if you win, you win. And then there's no real strategy to it, so you don't have to think too much.
I don't know, because I think the strategy is in knowing the people you're playing with. Like, you know, it's like Cards Against Humanity. You play to who's ever judging.
But exactly. But I don't really consider that strategy at a certain point, because if I know you guys and I'm comfortable enough being like, oh well, Ian's gonna like this one, or Brooke is gonna like this one, or Max might get a chuckle out of this guy. It's really just like, I have this card, it's gonna work for this situation. Put it down. We're done. We're good.
I had Danny DeVito. I knew that any pretty much anything I played then under, I would get a point from Will.
Yes, I love him. He is a god. A small meatball of a man, but a god.
I'd like to just take that opportunity to say thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny DeVito.
Thank you, Danny DeVito. Never change.
So going into price, $25 for a copy on Amazon. That's a 3 for me. That's a pretty good price for a game that you can play a lot.
It's the same. Again, you can get even cheaper at a thrift shop. You could probably pick it up for $5 if you hit it on the right day.
And I'm sure it goes on sale.
Oh yeah. Especially like couple stores do the half price board games during Christmas season, and those are places that do carry apples to apples. I definitely haven't bought them for toy drives before in bulk.
So I think we're all pretty much on the same price.
Yeah.
Price.
I'm pretty stingy, so again, I would buy it if it was on sale, and that's why I gave it a 2.
Fair enough.
I mean, yeah, pretty much the same. I'm with Max on that one. If it's on sale, I would consider maybe the concept of thinking about buying it.
I feel like also none of us have kids.
True.
So if we wanted a game that we could play with kids, this is definitely one you could use. Going into extras then. I did give it a 1 here, and I think it's the only one I gave it. I'm honestly, on one side, I'm glad that it's kind of stuck to its original formula. It hasn't like gone into a bunch of IPs. Can you imagine Marvel Edition Apples to Apples? I would cry.
I would too.
But that said, it could use some more expansions to help stay relevant a little bit.
Yeah. I think I will. Well, we're already there. I would say I know our opinion on excessive expansions, but of all of the games that could have a half dozen expansions or more, I feel like it's this game.
That's why I gave it a higher score, because of the potential of extras, not necessarily what's already out there.
But I'm gonna throw out there. I actually docked a point. This is the first time I've ever actually docked not 1 but 2 points for this. At a certain point, you can't just be like, well, there's the potential for putting out expansions. They're just not going to.
23 years.
Yeah.
23 years. That's almost a full will length, and like, it's not happening. If it didn't happen in the first 20, it ain't gonna happen in the next 20.
And it would be one thing if this was published by like some like lesser known publisher. Mattel owns this game.
It's free money.
The person who the company who is well known for exploiting every IP they have. Mattel, for those of you who may not know, is the toy company who made He-Man and Barbie to literally suck as much money out of kids as possible through television programming.
Yes. If you owned a Star Wars toy in the past 20 years, you know Mattel.
Probably Mattel.
It is Mattel. Unless it's a George Lucas original. But even on like the point of the expansions, if they just updated the content by just like a decade, it would do wonders for this game. But it's so just locked in the past, and it do a little bit to its benefit to people our age who get some of the weird references and like pulling out these names that we haven't heard in like 10, 15 years. It's kind of a weird trip.
So I did just look it up. There are some like other games. So I knew, because this is what I was thinking of. They do have a Disney version.
Okay.
So they do have Apples to Apples Disney.
Yeah, they have a couple, but not a whole
they
lot.
have Sour Apples to Apples, which I think is supposed to be
More adult.
Yeah. They have Marvel. So they do have
they do
some.
have Marvel. Oh, I am gonna cry.
You opened your mouth
I
and
know.
you willed it to be.
They do have some. And
I was trying to find more on this.
there's
and I really
also
couldn't.
one that's just pictures, no words. So everything you put down, like I'm assuming that they still have like the adjective cards, but all of the nouns are pictures.
That could be fun.
So there are some, but what I was talking about with you guys was it would be great if they came out with like a yearly like Apples to Apples in some, where they gave you like 10 cards that were relevant.
Absolutely.
But this fulfilled my minimum requirement for a card game, which is it gave me blank cards.
Yes.
That is you have to have it. So it got a 2 from me just because it had that.
I didn't even actually factor that in, but the ability to write your own cards in is frankly, I think, underrated and overlooked in a lot of these style games. Believe me, the write-ins are always the funniest and always the best.
Oh yeah.
I had some good ones with another card judging game by Cyanide and Happiness called Joking Hazard.
That's a game I
we
wanna
should
play.
recover that.
I have the Kickstarter edition for that.
We should recover that.
We should.
The only thing is, though, I wish that the cards were better quality, like you were saying, because you could, in theory, use a wet erase marker if it was, like, you can do that with Cards Against Humanity, their cards.
Yeah.
You can write on them with wet erase marker, and it only stains minorly. But, like, if I were to write in a wet erase or even a dry erase marker on these cards, it would just go away. Like, it would be stuck there forever. It would just, that was it.
You now
Your
have
one-
a new permanent
yes,
card.
you have a permanent card. You do not have that amazing blank card anymore. And I don't think they sell just the blank cards. That's what I was more looking for. They don't sell just blank cards.
Which is, frankly, a shame.
Oh, yeah.
Under-monetized.
They do have, like, one that is only, like, it's Apples to Apples Freestyle, which is with markers, but it's a whole different setup. Like, it's not a card shape, it's an apple shape.
That's, yeah.
It's for teachers. It's for, not for teachers, but it's, like, definitely
For
with
the
education
learning.
in mind.
So Max,
Yeah.
how did you enjoy Apples to Apples?
I mean, I enjoyed myself pretty thoroughly. Even the low points, it wasn't enough for me to like say it was for it wasn't enough for my enjoyment to suffer because of it. I mean, I had a great time, so I gave it a 3 because just the good moments and the conversation outweighs the very small lulls in the like lesser rounds, I guess.
I also gave it a 3. I could play this a few times, honestly. The game we played did go a little long, but normally they don't necessarily go that long, especially if you have like 5 to 6 people. I think is a good spot for this, where it's like you only need to get like 5 cards to win.
I mean, it only went long because we were streaming and we had a deadline or a timeline that we needed to stick to, but like in a different scenario, a party game where like there's not really anywhere to be, I think it's perfect for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun game.
Yeah, I gave it 3. And would you recommend it to someone?
Easily.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the few games that I feel like I could recommend to anyone. What?
No, nothing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Everyone was staring off for a second. I feel like I could recommend this game to anyone, and it pretty much could be played by any group of people, and some enjoyment will be gotten out of it.
Yeah, I gave it a 2 for recommendation. I feel like it's not a game everyone will enjoy. I know some people are very against party games. I normally am against party games. As someone who like has a bunch of them, I'm almost never in the mood for a party game. There are definitely times where I'm like, yeah, let's play this, but most of the time I'm not,
Yeah.
and that's just personal preference.
That's why it's in the personal
So I guess
section.
I know your replay value then.
Yeah, it's a 2 as well.
For me, that's a 2. I mean, with any like card judging games, it has that sort of like you can get fatigued by playing it too much.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you pace it out and you don't like wear it out completely, it's fine. So that's where I just give it a 2.
Yeah, I think I have 2 or 3 games of this in me before I'm like, yeah, I'm sick of it. Let's put it down, and I'll pick it up in like 3 or 4 months to maximum.
Yeah, no, I completely, I agree. I feel like it's one of those things where every once in a while you can play it and you can get some enjoyment out of it.
So going into our sliding scales then, if no one else has anything to add on replay, I give it a classic 3. It's a classic game. It's a great game. No complaints on my part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of sets the tone for those like cartridge games. So like you kind of have to give credit there. I don't know.
It kind of defines the genre.
Yeah.
This is why we started the sliding scale, because it's classic and simple. It has no complexity to it. It's not very innovative. It's a concept that we've always done. Like, even if we were just talking in conversations, it's a concept that we know very well. But they just make it so easy and accessible.
I agree. I did end up giving it a 2. Now thinking about it, it may have been for more petty reasons. And I will leave
that's
it at
why
that.
it's your score.
This was my score.
But yeah, classic 3, simple 3 from me. Pretty straightforward, honestly. It's a very good example of a simple classic game.
Yeah, I think this is a very. If you have a friend who has never played a game before, I feel like this is the first game you should show them.
Yes.
You're crawling out of
Or
a
if you
cave,
want-
never played a board game. What's Candyland? Precious.
No human being should ever be subjected to that. Frankly,
Next
we do
year.
our children a disservice by introducing them to board games with Candyland.
But next year we should do that.
We should.
It's got a fun background, though, Candyland.
Duh.
We'll talk about that if we ever do Candyland.
Oh, you mean like the history of Candyland?
Oh, like the history of Candyland.
Oh, it sounds like it's got a.
So many of you have pressured me to do Candyland.
Yes.
I generally make the decision on like, well, we'll cover this for this month and that for that month, and it's gonna happen because
do it?
one of you are gonna drive me insane if I don't.
Can we do it for my birthday?
We should do it for Brooke's birthday,
Yes, sure, we'll do Candyland.
and then we can eat.
You heard it
actual
here.
candy.
It's on
Hold them
record.
to it.
Yeah, I'm being held to it now.
All right. So closing comments.
Our final scores, right?
Well,
Final scores.
Yeah.
Oh.
Comments and scores.
I do want to just mention one fun thing about this game is it's really cool, all the different styles of play you can. Like, we were sitting and talking about how we were going to play this, and like I'd never even played with the one off the deck add-in. Someone else said that they played with 2 green cards and you had to match the red card.
I should say on the instructions there are I think 5 or 6 different ways to play the game, and it tells you, hey, try to spice it up by doing this. It's great. It's good advice. Take the advice. It's fun to try new things with this game.
Oh yeah.
Because it's so simple, there are a lot of ways you can play it.
And like I shared with them, one big thing that we used to do, maybe because it was all girls that I was playing with, but whatever adjectives you got were supposedly the adjectives that you were. So it was like just a fun little extra afterword of you having this conversation if those cards matched up to who you were as a person.
So final scores, I gave it a 36 out of 42.
I gave it a 33 out of 42.
I had a 38 out of 42.
I had a 39 out of 42.
Which might be the highest score we've ever had.
I mean, overall, I think Machikora might have been.
Average, maybe not, but I think 39 is...
That's pretty
I
good.
have done more than that. I know that.
How?
Because
That's 3s in almost everything.
Yeah, I'll have to look through the things. You're right. It might be the highest that I've given.
I
I'm not
believe
sure.
I've given a game a 40 at one point.
Yeah, that's.
I think that was.
It's definitely on the higher end of our spectrum. We usually land somewhere in like the 35s,
Yeah.
30s.
Once we give a game the score that matches the answer to life and the universe and all things,
We're done.
We're done. I can't do a podcast anymore, so don't do it, please.
Well, I feel like that if our last game we ever cover needs to be that, just because we'll have found the perfect board game.
Exactly.
That's what we're after, right? That's the whole point of this, is we're trying to find the perfect board game.
Yeah, and
We're
it
on a
would be
quest.
And
the
it's
board
checkers.
game that.
Ian's 32-page college thesis on why checkers is better than chess. He got his doctorate for that.
If you want, do you want to do a twofer for April? Because aren't you April? Or you're in Aries. You're not April.
I'm
though.
March.
You're March. I know we're both Aries. I was wondering if you want to do a birthday special and have 2 for each of us.
If we do one for my birthday, we're either doing Menace or we're doing Cosmic Encounter.
That's fair.
Thank you for listening. We hope everyone enjoys this episode, and maybe it gave you an idea of something to do when visiting family or entertaining guests. If you want to see more of our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Dance with Bards, or subscribe to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/withbards. Thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you all make the most of your holiday season and continue to follow us into the new year. Thank you, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy New Year.
I love you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Woo.